Good evening, everyone. This is Pratima from NHRDN Mumbai chapter, and today we are going to have a session on mental health. I will request our campus leader, Mr. Harsh, and he's from JBIMS. He will introduce himself and he will set the flow of the program. Harsh, over to you.
Yes, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Harsh Dudwale, and I'm a second year student pursuing my MBA from JBIMS Mumbai. It's an absolute pleasure to connect with such a distinguished group of individuals and be part of this event. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to read out the NHRDN Code of Conduct to ensure a respectful experience for all the attendees. I would request everyone to repeat the code of conduct after me, but please keep yourself on mute. I hope my screen is visible. Yes, so I will always strive to meet the highest evolving standards and add value to the organizational success. I will deal with, hello,
We can hear
I'm
you.
audible, right? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Harsh, you're audible.
I will deal with all stakeholders with utmost integrity and create an environment of trust leading to the ethical success of my organization. I will ensure that I'm always reliable
Harsh,
and consistent
Harsh, I will,
in
sorry to
my
interrupt you.
actions
Harsh, listen.
by
I think as
accepting responsibilities for my decision and action.
Harsh, just listen to me. You can stop your screen share. I think there's some bandwidth issue at your end. There's some bandwidth issue at your end. You can stop screen share and then you can, yes,
Sure, I will repeat the code of conduct again.
yes, please.
Yes, I will always strive to meet the highest evolving standards of competence in the profession and add value to the organizational success. I will deal with all the stakeholders with utmost integrity and create an environment of trust, leading to the ethical success of my organization. I will ensure that I'm always reliable and consistent in my actions by accepting responsibility for my decisions and actions, thereby creating credibility for my profession and myself. I will be objective in all my actions and decisions and foster fairness with firmness. I will conduct myself in a way that facilitates growth and development for all those I'm responsible for. I will strive to be a role model for all others and champion exemplary practices of the HR profession. I will respect the rights of privacy with not on, will not use my position for personal gains and ensure that there is no conflict of interest in what I do with any of my stakeholders. Thank you for adhering to these principles throughout the session. Now, let me introduce you to our esteemed guest speaker for today, Ms. Devika Dharmaraj. Ms. Devika Dharmaraj, a seasoned HR professional with over 3 decades of experience, is a certified mental health expert. She's also associated with NHRDN from almost 25 years. Ms. Dharmaraj, thank you for joining us today. The floor is now yours.
Thank you, Harsh. Um, just to add to what Harsh said, I'm like the rest of you, my background is in HR. But about 8 or 9 years ago, we had poor health in the family, mental health. And frankly, it just hit us sideways and we didn't know what was going on or how to manage it. And in my attempts to understand what was going on, I realized that I know very little. Yeah. So the last maybe 9 years or so, I've been studying this area. And I'm now an instructor with Mental Health First Aid India, which means I teach people to become first aiders in mental health. Yeah. Um, Other than that, I'm not no longer an HR professional in the sense of being employed by an organization in HR. My work is almost entirely in the mental health area right now. Yeah. I'm a lay counselor as well, but not a professional counselor. So that's my background in terms of mental health and how I came into this area. During COVID, at NHRD, we realized that there was so much of anxiety and so much of worry uh, with everybody that we decided to start an initiative called Mind Matters. So I'm part of the core team with Mind Matters, and Pratima from NHRD Mumbai also is part of the team. And we try to bring, sessions to educate people more around mental health and what individuals should do and what organizations also should do in this area. Okay. So today we have about an hour, a little under an hour. So let me, I'll just keep it at a very um, um understanding what is mental health level. If anybody has any issues with the depth of it or with how fast I'm going or anything, please do let me know. We are a very small group here, so I think we can customize it on the go like that. In terms of what you've come here to hear, and maybe what I'm saying is not what you came here to learn. So if there is a mismatch there, please let me know and we will adjust it accordingly. Yeah. The intention is, as you know, the session is called Mental Health 101. The intention is to talk about mental health to those who do not know what is mental health. Yeah. So this session is just for us to understand what is mental health. How does it impact us on a day-to-day basis? Yeah. And what can we do about it as individuals? That is today's session. All right. So I hope we're all on the same page there. I am going to use a PPT to just so that everything is clearer. I'm absolutely happy for you all to unmute and speak and share in the chat in between. This is a small enough group for us to make it really worth our while in terms of information sharing. Yeah. Okay. So since we are a small group, please unmute and say, I want to hear one thing you've done today, something either you've done or seen or experienced that has brought you some happiness, some joy. It can be anything. Yeah, it can even be the cup of coffee that you had, something as small as that. Yeah. Can we just go around and unmute and just tell us one thing? If you don't want to unmute, put it in the chat.
A good conversation with friends.
Sorry, say that again. Great conversation with friends.
Yeah.
Super. Yeah. Varsha?
Hi. So I had two good things today. We had a party at work. We had breakfast party at work, so that brought me joy. The team entirely, we were all together having fun and having our breakfast together. So that was one thing that really brought me a lot of joy.
Thanks, Varsha.
Yeah.
Somebody else?
Yeah, I went to a fish pond today morning during my morning
Wow.
walk. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Anybody else? Pratima, you can also share. Harsh also.
Ma'am, you're on mute. Pratima, ma'am, you're on mute.
Yes, so today I had a herbal tea which was prepared by me, and I had it with my father, and it was very good experience because he said it has turned out to be very nice.
Oh, double joy then. Lovely. Harsh, what about you?
Yeah, so I usually take 40 minutes to reach college, but today I ran and caught the local, and then I ran and caught the bus, and I reached in 25 minutes. So
Oh,
I attended the
fantastic.
lecture on time. Yeah.
For me, running itself will be the joy. So, thank you for sharing that, Harsh. For
Hi,
me, yeah, go ahead, Arpita.
hi, this is Arpita here. So, for me, I think the best thing that could happen today, I'm working with Christ University, and we inaugurated a medical clinic over here in Lavasa, which
Mm-hmm.
is in about, like that in association with Apollo Shine. So, I think that was a very big moment for
Oh,
me and
that's
my
lovely.
team.
Okay,
Yes,
that's
thank you.
lovely. Thank you. That's a big joy.
Yes.
Yeah. For me, also a little thing I saw. There's a bird called bee eater, and it's these colors. It's blue and green, and it's beautiful. Just a little bird, and there were two sitting on the branch behind my house this morning, and it was just so lovely to see that. You know, little joy. Anybody else would like to share? Okay, I'll move on. Why I wanted us to talk about this little thing that brought you joy. You must have read about a word called glimmer. Yeah, there is this. It's new in the lexicon, I think. But glimmers are basically little sparks of joy that you get. Yeah, my offer to you is to consciously think of what brought you joy. Yeah, and when you are conscious of it, it comes to the front of your awareness, then you are firing up brain neurons to travel that path more often. Yeah, so in the beginning it's an effort to look for joy in things that are happening to you. Yeah, but then soon you start seeing joy everywhere. It starts appearing to you in even a poster or a group of people, or any scene that you are passing by. You'll find something that just sparks that little glimmer in your brain. Yeah, what I'm saying is, please be aware of that. Yeah, right, it'll be in the subconscious most of the time, but can we bring it to the front of our consciousness? Okay. Now, why are we talking about this? We are talking about this because I want to go back to a little bit of basics, where we're saying, okay, what is well-being? What is health? Yeah, health we are looking at as a combination of physical health, emotional health, mental health, right? And only when all these are aligned will we really have energy and passion to be productive and to have a sense of purpose in life. Yeah, and that's when you feel good about life and about yourself. Okay. So the WHO, I'm just going to give you a couple of quick definitions as per WHO now. Okay. So WHO doesn't say health is the absence of some disease. You have to be well. It's a state of well-being. Yeah, all the things that we talked about, physical, mental, emotional, etc. There has to be a sense of well-being, and not just an absence of disease. Yeah. A sub definition of that, what is mental health? Again, in the same line, WHO says that it's a state of well-being. Okay, but for us to understand what does that mean where mental health is concerned, where we are able to realize what is our own ability, the extent of our own abilities, we are able to deal with normal stresses of life. And we'll talk about what that is in a minute. Yeah. What are normal stresses of life that everybody experiences? We don't collapse under those stresses of life. We are able to work productively. Yeah. And we are able to make a contribution to our community. Now, whatever your community may be, it may be your family, your team, your organization, your social community, your the village you come from, the town you come, whatever it may be. Yeah, whatever you define your community as, you may be able to contribute to something outside of yourself, basically. Yeah, this is what WHO defines mental health as. a state of well-being, not a state where there is no illness. You're saying it should be well and thriving. That is what good mental health is. Yeah? Unfortunately, when we talk about mental health now, we tend to put a tag of illness on it or poor health on it. But actually, mental health is a spectrum. There is good mental health also and poor mental health also. And all of us range on this spectrum. Yeah, at different points in our life, we are at different points on the spectrum. Sometimes at different points in the day, we are at different points on the spectrum, right? But moving from good health to poor health and back again all can be quite tiring. So if this is happening to you many times in a day or many times over a couple of days, it can be really exhausting. Okay. Let's try and understand what is good health and what is poor health. Okay. When we, just like with physical health, if you stay in poor health for a long time, your chances of falling into illness are higher, right? So let's say you have a headache and body ache every day. Yeah. At some point, maybe after 4 days or 5 days, you'll say, hey, this is not okay. I need to see a doctor, right? And perhaps if you don't do anything about it, you don't see a doctor, it could be signs of some other problem, and your chances of falling into illness are that much higher. Your immunity drops and all of that, right? So with mental illness also, it's similar. So when you are able to recognize poor health, we are saying seek help like you would for physical poor health also. Yeah. Let's try and understand a little bit of what it looks like. What do you think good mental health looks like for you? Can you put in the chat or either unmute and speak? Anybody? Just one or two things. When you're in good mental health, what does it look like? What do you feel? What can you do? Challenge to be in the present moment always. Yes, and that we'll talk about that as a coping mechanism then later. Yeah. So in good mental health, yeah, we look at you're sleeping well, eating well, you're able to focus, you're able to do your work, you're able to socialize, you're able to be happy and enjoy interactions with people. Yeah. And you're able to regulate your emotions. So when something upsetting happens, it's not like you immediately collapse. You're able to respond in a way that is more managed. Yeah. That is good mental health. And conversely, then poor mental health means you're in distress, you're stressed all the time, your mood is going all over the place. Yeah. You're very sad, you're not able to come out of that. Yeah. This is how you feel when you're in poor mental health. This is something that I try and bring into all of my sessions. It's one of my favorite analogies, that all of us have a bucket. Okay, this is the stress bucket, and our everyday stresses flow into this bucket. Yeah, and all of us have some threshold in this bucket. So what are the everyday stresses that you would have? Can you share? What do you think would be the everyday stresses? Harsh said that he managed to get to college early today, right? So obviously the commute is a stress for you then, correct? So what are the other stresses then that we have? Alarm didn't go off on time. What else are day-to-day stresses? Come on, you can't say you have no stresses, people in this group.
I've mentioned in the chat box, my son's tiffin planning.
Oh my God, yes. Keeping lunch, not just for your children, but packing lunch for kids to go to school is one thing. Your own household running is another. Maid doesn't turn up. Things don't happen according to Shankar when you as per your plan. Yeah, getting to work on time, deadlines at work, bosses. How your boss's mood is that day. Client visits. It can be n number of things. No? And these are all everyday things that are happening to us, right? Somebody is unwell, child falls sick. spouse has had a bad day at work and comes back all upset. Uh, there's illness in the family. Yeah, last minute, last minute request for information and data and reports and things. And when you're in a team, you're all dependent on each other. When somebody doesn't pull their weight, you're ending up pulling the weight for them, right? That's also a stress for you. Now, all these are everyday things that go into your bucket. At some point, that bucket will get full, right? And what happens when a bucket gets full? It'll overflow, right? So when your bucket gets full and it overflows, how does it look like for you? What do you do? How does it show? How does it show for you? Exhausted, yeah. You're tired. Some people get upset and they cry, or they shout, or they throw things, or they have a fight with somebody. Yeah, your capacity to have patience is very low, right? Now, all these are signs that there is some problem. That person's bucket is full, right? Tell me what you do to cope. What are some coping mechanisms? You want to gulp tea to recharge. Okay, that is a coping mechanism. And what else do you all do? Do you eat good food, eat sweets? Okay, I don't know, Pratima, whether that is a good coping mechanism or not, but yeah, it's a coping mechanism. What else? Exercise? Any of you have any, walking, running, any sports you all play, music, right? Dance, movies, hanging out with friends, one of you said earlier. Yeah, all these are good. Staying away from social media and your phone. So these are all coping mechanisms. And why are they necessary? Because you need to open a tap to let the stress out of your bucket. Otherwise, it's all just sitting in your bucket, right? All these are activities that let the stress out. There are also some that let the stress out, but which are not so good. Can you tell me what those could be? They're also everyday. Many of us do it, right? And there's no judgment around it. But can we talk about them? What are things that we see as negative coping mechanisms? What we talked about earlier, the shouting at people, hitting, abuse, all those are also coping mechanisms, but they're not good coping mechanisms. They might let the stress out of your bucket, but it puts more stress back into your bucket, right? Overeating, yes. Alcohol, smoking, any substance abuse, really, yeah. It puts more stress back into your bucket in terms of your health, in terms of your relationships with people, yeah. So you have different types of coping mechanisms. When it just lets stress out of your bucket and doesn't put more stress back into your bucket, those are positive coping. So give a little thought to what you are doing to cope. Recognize that this is a coping mechanism, yeah, and look at whether it is a positive one or a negative one. Now, having talked about this, there is no judgment on how big your bucket is. Yeah, remember that everybody has different sized buckets. It doesn't matter if you have a small bucket, big bucket. Full bucket is full bucket, whether it is small or big. Overflow doesn't matter whether it is big bucket or small bucket. When it is overflowing, it's overflowing. So when you see somebody having some emotional outburst or and you say, for such a small thing they are crying, or for such a small thing they're getting so irritable, remember that that small thing is the one thing that's making their bucket overflow. The bucket must be already full, and that small thing is making it overflow. So some compassion on, oh, their bucket is already full, instead of, oh, for such a small thing they're reacting like this. Yeah. So can we switch the lens with which we are seeing this as, sorry, Shankar, that was my bad. I didn't realize that it was a gray. So basically it just says, remember that we all have different size buckets. Yeah. If you don't have coping mechanisms, you don't have taps to open up and let the stress out, you'll end up like this. Yeah, just putting band-aids and having holes in your buckets, your health will get affected, your relationships will get affected. Yeah. So that's why it's important to recognize that all of us have stresses coming into our bucket. We do need to have coping mechanisms in place and recognize what you are doing as coping mechanisms. Yeah. So what are the signs for you? How do you know when you are how do you behave? What is your body telling you when you are overwhelmed or when you're anxious? How does it feel for you in your body? How does it feel for you in your emotions? How do you see it with other people? Any inputs from you all? Low energy, yeah. What else? Just imagine the first time you went on stage, or when just before you wrote an exam, or when you had to give a presentation to somebody. Yeah, how did it feel for you? What did you feel in your body? How did it feel? I'm waiting for some responses. Any head spinning, headache, decision making becomes difficult? Yes. Hands get clammy, you start sweating, you feel feverish. Yeah.
Feeling
stomach-
anxious.
Feel anxious, your stomach starts churning. Sometimes you feel like you want to go to the loo. Last minute, just before going on stage, you're like, oh, I need the loo. Right? So all that gets impacted, right? So I'm just going to put up a whole lot of things on the screen, and we can talk through it. Yeah. So just for us to understand that there is a lot of physicality to worry and distress and stress. Yeah. And it shows in all these ways. Physically, these are just some examples. Okay, there's a whole lot of other things also, but most often these are the things that we feel. Yes, sweaty palms, and your mouth, you feel like you feel sick, or you feel like you're choking. Words don't come out of your mouth. Your brain just goes dry. Words are not coming into your brain also, or you have 200 thoughts coming in at the same time. Yeah. um, and how are we behaving then when these things happen? Either we will avoid. So for example, if I'm feeling like this about, say, a meeting, I might not even attend that meeting, or I may not go to class that day, or I may not go to office that day. Yeah, you're avoiding it. Yeah, negative thinking, absolutely. So everything that's happening, you're looking at it as something negative, or you're looking at the worst case scenario. Yeah, that is the catastrophizing thoughts, that last thing in cognitive symptoms. So that basically means, so do you remember during COVID, when we were all so anxious, if the guy next door had COVID, we were like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Yeah, because the person next door had COVID. That's a catastrophizing thought. Immediately you go to catastrophe. It's crisis. Yeah. So all of these signs that I've got up there on the screen, no, all of those are what everybody experiences. Yeah, when we are under anxious times, when we are under stress, all of us experience these things. There is nothing abnormal about these things. Yeah, it is. These are human reactions. Yeah. Now, being human reactions, what is happening in our body when these things are happening? Na? Clammy hands, racing heart, palpitations, all of that. What does it mean? It means that different parts of our body are kicking into action in different ways. right? So your lungs are, your breathing becomes faster, and it's basically making you consume more oxygen so that you're in a position to take action. Yeah, all of these things, what hormones you're pumping out, your how your heart behaves, etc. All of these things are so that you can take care of yourself. This is your fight or flight syndrome. Yeah, these are the things that your body is going into to make it ready to fight or ready to flee. Now, from the time that we were living in caves, no, to now, everything, much of our appearance has changed, but this part of our brain has not changed. Yes, Shankar, acidity is a big part. How your gut and brain connection is almost direct, and we are realizing that only now. Even science and even doctors are realizing that only now. Yeah, this alarm center that we are talking of, no, this lower brain, that has not changed since we lived in caves. So all the things we talked about, all this, second, all these changes in the body that we are talking about have been happening since we lived in caves. Okay, and it happens when we spot a tiger outside or a bear is threatening us. There is a life or death situation, and it prepares your body to stay alive. Now, what is happening with these stresses that are like your boss getting angry, the presentation due, all of these are these tigers in front of our caves. And unfortunately, our brain reacts in the same way, and our body reacts to those messages from the brain in the same way. Yeah. But all of these chemicals now, instead of allowing us to fight or run or whatever, is sitting in our body, and we are sitting at our desks, right? And so what's happening with all that, those changes in your body? It's just sitting in your bucket. So what can we do to bring the rational brain forward and do something with all of these chemicals in our body now? Yeah. I'll just run through what depression, that was around anxiety, what it looks like, feels like, and all. Depression is little different. Yeah, when somebody is in depression, it looks a little different. There's low energy. Remember that in anxiety, you can have high energy also. Okay. In depression, there is low energy. In anxiety, there can be high energy also. So you're taking action. You'll be pacing up and down and all. In depression, it's mostly low. Everything is low. You're tired. Yeah. You have body ache. You have, there is sadness. There are mood swings. Everything is low. Hopelessness, helplessness. Nobody can help me. I'm alone in this world. Those are the kind of thoughts that you have. Yeah. And emotions that you have. How does one behave in a very low mood? They'll be crying. They'll be, you neglect yourself. You think less of yourself, right? And these eating patterns, eating too much, eating too little, all that also kicks in. So those are also common. Yeah. Thought processes, there's a lot of self-doubt. Am I good enough? Am I, is it why did I not get that, and so got it? You're not able to focus, you're not able to concentrate. And at the very extreme end, you have thoughts of death. You want to not be there anymore. Yeah. Remember that this is also a spectrum, right? There is low mood. Low mood is not an illness. All of us have low mood. Yeah, if I lose somebody who's dear to me, if I lose my job, if I have something bad happen to me, I will be in a low mood, and that is normal to be in a low mood. But if that low mood continues for long periods of time, and it starts becoming dysfunctional for me, and I'm not able to do my day-to-day stuff, and it starts affecting all my relationships, then we have to seek help. Yeah. So we very easily use the words anxiety and depression, but those are actually illnesses. Yeah. Feeling disturbed, feeling low, all those are normal parts of life. As long as we are able to come out of it also. When you're not able to come out of it is when there is a problem. Yeah. And that problem is, it can be as biological a problem as diabetes. We are so easily able to talk about diabetes, no? That we are on medication, that we know what we have to do. We have to change our lifestyle, we have to do exercise, we have to eat properly, we have to reduce sweets, even if it gives us joy, things like that, right? But we're able to talk about it so easily. There's no stigma around it. There's so much of stigma around talking about emotions, feelings. Somehow it's as if you are less than what you should be. That feeling doesn't come when you're physically unwell, no? Right? If I have a viral fever, I have no problem in saying I have a viral fever. If I'm feeling sad about something, I have lots of problems. Why should I can't tell anybody that I'm sad. What will people think about me? Right? So that's a big block. The risk factors of mental illness, of falling ill, can be biological. Yeah, it can be in your genetic makeup, it can be biological, like for women, our hormonal cycles are very determined by stage of life. Yeah, it can be social, it can be psychological, which means it depends on your environment. Are you in a war zone? Obviously, people right now who are living in Ukraine will be, their mental health will certainly be affected a lot more, right? Have you been the victim of abuse? Have you been at the receiving end of bullying? All these are risk factors. Some of them are in our control as a society, some of them are not. Okay? If you've been born into poverty, if you've been born into a family which has congenital illness, all these are issues. Now, sorry, I want to talk about how we talked about trauma, no, little just now, things like abuse and war and um, trauma that happens to somebody. When there is trauma, how does it feel for you? When you see something happening or something's happening to you, what happens to you? What happens to you in your body? What's your immediate reaction? If you're seeing some violent scene, what is your reaction? There'll be some reaction, no, from you. You're not unaffected.
Disgust.
Disgust, fear, maybe also. Yeah, if it's happening to you, there would be fear. Each of these emotions, no, your body has a reaction. So when there is disgust, what happens? You'll have maybe nausea, you'll have maybe your stomach will be churning, your muscles will clench, your breathing will get faster, yes. Yeah, all of these things. So obviously there is a bodily reaction to trauma, whether it is trauma happening to somebody else and you are not directly a part of it, or whether it is trauma that is directly happening to you. Either way, there is a reaction inside of you. Yeah, and it's not just in your mind, it's in your body as well. Yeah. And these traumas, whether it's a physical trauma, emotional, environmental trauma, social trauma. So if you're living in a very polluted city, that's also traumatic, right? If you're living in a crime-ridden area, that's traumatic. I'd be afraid to walk on the street in the night, right? So there are different types of trauma. Now, because these trauma evokes deep emotions within us, whether this trauma is occurring now to you or it has happened when you were a baby or when you were a small child or a teenager or as an adult also, the impact of this deep emotion is in your body. Yeah, it's there in your body. Now, how we cope with it is very different. Sometimes our coping mechanism is to just shut it down. Yeah, just pack it away in some deep corner. Don't look at it again, because otherwise I can't cope. I can't go on. Yeah, I may cope with it by resorting to substances, to alcohol, to abusive behavior. Maybe I get into relationship after relationship that is negative and dysfunctional for me. Yeah, these are all coping mechanisms. Or you can find a way to process what's going on or what happened to you, to understand it, and only then you can move on. Yeah, because the shutting it down part, no, it becomes a pressure cooker. It's there somewhere deep in your psyche. There'll be some trigger someday which will bring it out, and then that will be like a pressure cooker. Yeah, this last word I put there, psychosomatic, I put it there just for us to understand. When people say psychosomatic, somatic means of the body. Yeah, so spend so much time talking about how mental health impacts the body. So suppose you have a lot of aches and pains, you go to a doctor. Doctor says there's nothing wrong with you. You go to many doctors. They're all saying there's nothing wrong with you. It is psychosomatic, they'll say, which means of the mind impacting the body. So actually, there seems to be no biological reason for your body to ache so much. Yeah, you don't have arthritis, you don't have viral fever, you don't have all the usual things that might cause that body ache is not there. Yeah, all the medically known things. Then they say psychosomatic because they can't understand why it is there. But remember that when there is trauma and it is sitting in your body, it will come out in these manners. Yeah. So don't brush it off. Don't be ashamed to say that it is there, because if you're feeling it, it is there. Yeah. There is a substance called substance P, which the brain, like you have dopamine, serotonin, and all. There's a hormone called substance P which your brain produces. Substance P is what helps you to recognize pain. Okay, so research has shown that when you hurt yourself physically, substance P is released. That's how you know that there is pain. When your heart is broken, or you're grieving, or you have some great emotional hurt that has happened to you, also the same substance P is released. How is that possible? The brain is recognizing it as a bodily hurt and releasing this substance. Okay, so all this I've said just for us to understand that there is such a close correlation between your body and mental health. You cannot demarcate the two. Okay, you can't say, oh, this is a mental thing, it's nothing to do with the body, or this is a physical thing, it's nothing to do with the brain. The brain is influencing how your body feels. Yeah, and the brain is processing things that have happened to you in different ways. So Shankar has said how to overcome trauma. Shankar, I'm going to just talk about very basic how to do day-to-day stuff. Okay, today, how to overcome trauma, you will need to go to a therapist, a psychotherapist who's trained to take you through that. There are different methods of overcoming trauma depending on where you are right now. Are you in a position to manage different types of therapies? Yeah, so even when you have sprained, let's say you've strained a muscle. Yeah, the kinds of therapies that the physiotherapist will do for you will be different depending on your bone structure, on your age, on your any other problems that you might have, right? So when you have trauma, the therapist will look at it all round and choose a method of therapy that will be best for you. Yeah, but the work Just like in physiotherapy, they don't do all the work. No, your body is doing the work. It's hard work, physiotherapy, to get better. When you have a weak muscle, to get it stronger, it's hard work. In trauma also, these are all things that have been tucked away, and those muscles are not resilient. You need to work on it to bring it to the front, to heal it, and to make it stronger. And only an experienced psychotherapist can help you to do that. And not every counselor is a therapist. Please understand the background of the person that you're going to and what their qualifications are before you go for therapy. Okay? In India especially, counselors are not regulated. Only psychiatrists are regulated and clinical psychologists. Even counseling psychologists are not regulated by the government of India. There is no there's no certificate that tells you that this person has gone through enough of a rigorous enough qualification to treat you, unlike the doctors and the clinical psychologists. Yeah. So what can you do to build resilience? Just a few day-to-day tips I'll give you, and these are things that all of us can do, and it's basically to build a muscle, right? To make sure that our positive coping mechanisms are stronger than our negative ones, and therefore when something happens to us, our default go-to becomes the positive coping mechanism. So if you make these as habits, then that becomes our default. Yeah. So small things, okay, to restore good health and to maintain good health, small things. When you have, you know that there are some activities you enjoy doing, right, which are good for you. They recharge you. Yeah. You have a schedule, right? For your work, you have schedule. For your studies, you have schedule. Why do you not put things that you enjoy into your schedule? Somehow we feel that, oh, that is just a nice to do. We'll do it when we have time. No, it is a have to do. Please put it into your schedule. Yeah. So if you're saying at 9:30 I have this, at 10:30 I have that, at 11 o'clock, take a break and do something that put it into your schedule, something that you enjoy doing every day. Yeah. This I'm going to do. We are our own biggest critics. Yeah, we are the ones that criticize ourselves the most. So my request is that if you can learn to love yourself like you love your best friend, and like you give positive reinforcement to your best friend and say, no, you can do it. No, you're don't pull yourself down like that. You are, you do have what it takes, etc. All these positive affirmations that you will give to your best friend. Can you be your best friend? Yeah. And learn to love yourself. Somewhere we think that, loving yourself is a very oh, it's a selfish thing to do. Yeah, we should only love other people. But if you don't love yourself and you don't take care of yourself, there's nobody else who can do it for you. Yeah. Everybody else will come and go. Only you are there for yourself. This thing of perfection, any of you are perfectionists, you will know that you spend a lot of time trying to be perfect, and sometimes that impacts your stress levels as well. Yeah, you don't have to be perfect. You're good at some things, be good at those things. Get other people to do the things that you're not good at, and do the best that you can. But don't pull yourself down trying to achieve a level of perfection that will impact your health. Yeah, so be rational about it. I'm not saying don't try. I'm not saying don't be good at things. But in doing so, don't be dysfunctional. Don't not send that report out because it is not absolutely perfect. Send it out. And then talk about it with whoever you've sent it to, saying, I need to look at this again, or I need to redesign this, whatever. But don't hold it back. That's worse. Yeah. I cannot tell you how important a routine is. We are animals. End of the day, we are bodies, we are biological animals. We need a routine. Yeah. Don't have your lunch at 3 o'clock one day, 2 o'clock one day, not have it at all third day. No. Your sleeping patterns, your eating patterns, how you're treating your body. Yeah. So when I'm saying treating your body, I mean in terms of exercise also. There has to be a pattern, there has to be a routine for it to be in good health. Okay. Asking for help. Again, this is some ego thing, right? That we don't ask for help. Everybody is willing to help us. We don't ask for help. So can we learn to ask for help? Glimmers we talked about, those little joys that we started the session with, no? Little things. And the more aware you are of glimmers, that becomes your default setting over time. Yeah, you have to practice it. Only when you practice something, it becomes default. Right? Gratitude. If any of you have a gratitude practice, it is a wonderful thing because again, it helps in the positivity neurons. Yeah, it helps you to, it fires up those neurons and then that becomes a practice too. So I would say, suggest that every day, if you can just spend a few minutes looking at 3 things that I'm grateful for today. Okay, if you can't think of 3, then one thing at least that you're grateful for today. Start with 1, build it up. Yeah, then it becomes a way of life over time. And last but not least, focus on what you can control. Don't look at what the rest of the world is doing or what they are thinking. You can't control other people's thoughts. You can't control what Trump is doing in America. I can't tell you recently this thing, the executive orders that he passed. My family, couple of them were in doldrums, saying, "What is this? So hopeless we feel so helpless. How can we?" So, to remember that you have no control over that. What do you have control over? Your own actions, right? So I'm saying if you feel so strongly about it, you become an activist, no? You speak up about it, you talk about it in ways that support your thoughts. But don't let yourself be pulled on by something that you have no control over. Yeah. You have no control over what happened in the past. You have no control over what's going to happen in the future. You only have control over what's here and now and what your thoughts, actions are now. Right? So focus on that. Okay. So before I sign off, just a few tips I'm leaving you with. And Shankar, you were saying, what can I do, right? So these are things that you can do on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. What am I grateful for? Bring it to the front of your consciousness. What am I grateful for today? Yeah. Anything small. Harsh said he's grateful that he caught the bus in time. Right? Just small things. But if you articulate it to yourself, then those are the kind of thoughts that come to the front rather than, oh my God, what is Trump doing in America? Yeah. Who am I? I'm not saying don't care about such things. We need to care about what's going on in the world, but not to the extent where it is making us dysfunctional. Yeah. I'm grateful that I'm not living in America right now, for example. Yeah. Who am I connecting with or checking in on today? Now, one of you said earlier about, hanging out with friends and being with people that you love gives you joy, right? So can you find somebody that you would like to get in touch with or like to just connect in with who you don't normally do? Can you just send a message, pick up the phone, some way that you can check in on somebody? Yeah? All of us have expectations. This is our biggest human failing, is that we have expectations of ourselves and of other people. And if whatever action or behavior does not fit in with what we think is the right way of doing it, then it distresses us a lot, right? Because that's the normal way and it is not fitting in our normal. So can I let go of some things that I think normal, and it's not happening as normal, so it's upsetting me. Yeah. So let's say, for example, something small like the way you are putting things in a folder. Yeah. You put it in a certain way. Somebody else puts it differently, and you're like, that's not the way to do it, and it's upsetting you. But it's a small thing. Can you let it go? Yeah. For me, it is, I make the bed in a certain way. My husband makes it in a different way. The days he makes it, I get very stressed because that's not how I make it. Can I just let it go? Yeah. For me, that is not normal. For him, that is normal. Yeah. There are some things that we should just let go of. Getting outside every day. Many of us have sedentary jobs. We're sitting indoors for most of the time. Can we get outdoors for even 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour? Yeah, just to get some fresh air and exercise. And then this thing of glimmers that we talked about, no? What thing of beauty or joy can I invite into my life at a conscious level? It can be a butterfly. It can be something you're eating, which is tasting fabulous. It can be spending time with somebody. It can be just somebody who's passing by and has a beautiful smile. It just just lights you up. Yeah. So if you can just do these few things, it starts rewiring those neurons in your brain, refiring those neurons in your brain, and the pathways get set for better resilience. Yeah, it becomes easy. It's not such an effort when something happens in your life. It's not such an effort to bounce back because these muscles are already getting strong. Okay, so that's it. I'm done and open to any questions that you all may have. But any questions,
Hi.
Harsh or?
Hi, Varsha here.
Yeah, Varsha.
Okay, you all used to do a certain course on the mind matters, I think.
Yeah, the ambassador
Uh,
program we did.
Are you
for
all
that.
going to conduct it anytime soon again?
Yeah, we want to do one more
No.
this year.
Yeah.
The challenge was whether to do it in person or virtual. That was the challenge that we were facing because virtual we can open it up to a lot more people, but it
Yeah.
is not as effective as doing it in person. So we're still dithering about that. But yes, this year there is a program that we are looking. Are you interested
Sure.
in that?
I would be keen to understand about it.
Okay, sure. If you write into, I think even if you
Yeah,
write into
Pratima should have my.
Pratima, yes, Pratima can pass it on to us. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Varsha.
Hello, madam.
Yes, Shankar.
I used to know that hormone name, madam. You mentioned the substance C or something. I couldn't get the spelling right.
P for pain. P
Pain,
for
okay.
partner. P. Substance
Okay.
P.
What's the full spelling? I couldn't get it. That's a hormone name you said. Substance something meant.
I just put it in the chat.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And we also
Thank you.
received few questions from participants when they were registering.
Okay.
One of them asks, in these times of digitally fast-paced and too much unnecessary information, what can one individual do to be mentally healthy?
Digital information.
Digitally fast-paced and too much unnecessary information coming to us.
Right. Yeah, this is a big thank you, Harsh, and thank you to whoever asked that question. This is a big problem and a increasing problem that we're having. So Shankar, I think earlier had put in the chat that when we were growing up, we had a lot more mental peace and time to do things. I feel that probably it's because we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have internet, we didn't have too much information, right? Happy with what we had. How do we cope is because now you have no control over what is available. Everything is available, right? The only control you have, as I said, is on yourself. So only I can put my phone off and keep it aside. Only I can take the decision to not look at my social media before 8 in the morning or after 9 in the night or whatever, right? So there is research that has showed that that blue light of the phone or of laptops is very bad for you in terms of sleep, right? It prevents sleep. So they say at least half an hour to 45 minutes before you want to sleep, you mustn't look at the screen. Yeah. So those are decisions that only I can take for myself. Right? In terms of the information overload also, so suppose I get, there are many people I know who have gotten so involved in this war, this Ukraine-Russia war, that they have gone completely into the history, who's doing what to whom, what weapons so-and-so is buying, selling, using, all of that, right? And you get very bogged down in that. At some point, you got to stop and say, yes, there's a war. Yes, it distresses me. What can I do about it? If I can write to somebody or if I can actually action something that I can do about it, do it. But don't get into the spiral, right? And getting into the spiral, nobody wants to get into the spiral, right? So the thing to do is to be aware that now I'm getting caught in this spiral. I need to do something to step out. I need help to step out. Maybe I'm so caught in it, I can't step out. Then at least the awareness that I need help. And then seek that help. Yeah.
Yes, there's another question. Should there be mental health centers at the workplace or community centers for the benefit of people?
I think the wrong question to ask me, because I think mental health initiatives should be there everywhere. Everywhere. In schools, in colleges, in workplaces, in government institutions, everywhere. And is it the government's problem or private problem? That's like up for debate. But whoever has the facilities, the money, the infrastructure to put it into place, please do, because we don't have enough. Just to give you all an idea of the mental health resources that we have, in the WHO says we need to have at least 3 psychiatrists per 1 lakh people. 1 lakh population have 3 psychiatrists. This is the minimum that the WHO has said. We in India don't even have 1 per lakh. That is the kind of statistic we have. So yes, anything we do in this space is to move the needle will help. It doesn't matter whose money it is, whose muscle it is, it will help.
Yes, ma'am. And the continued question is, if you have to set up such centers, how can it be done from the initial stage?
I don't think we have time today to talk about that. But first is the will to do it. 2 is the resources to do it. So you do research to see what are the kind of resources you need, and then do you have the financial and muscle to set it up. There's a lot that can be done at different levels. You can do awareness building and you can do treatment of illnesses. So it's like a whole spectrum. I am in the awareness building end of the spectrum. That's the work I do, education and awareness building. Yeah, because I'm not a professional. Psychiatrists are at the other end of the spectrum. They treat illness. Yeah. So there's a lot any of us can do. If we want to move the needle, a little bit of work, educating yourself, qualifying yourself, you can move the needle for many people.
Right, ma'am, I had one last question. So when do we realize that, okay, this is the point I need to seek help? Or when do I know that, okay, this is not normal?
So I will simplify it because frankly it is for the professional to diagnose, yeah. But how to know that, hey, I'm in trouble and I need to go see a doctor, for example. Typically we have three things that we keep in mind. Okay, one is, has there been a major change in how I am, in my thoughts, in my feelings, in my moods, in my behavior? Has there been a big change from how I used to be to how I am in a detrimental way? Yeah. Uh, that's the first thing. The second thing is, has this impacted my day-to-day life? Is it making it difficult for me to get up, have personal hygiene, to have relationships, to be productive at work or at school or at home, whatever? Yeah, my day-to-day life. Is it impacting maybe I'm unable to get up and go to work every day? Yeah, that's impact. That means it's impacting. I'm unable to have a shower. I'm unable to brush my teeth. Yeah, this is all means impacting day-to-day life. Yeah, that's the second thing. And the third thing is, how long has this been going on? If I feel like this for 1 day, 2 days, then it's not an illness. I'm feeling low, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling all that for 1 day, 2 days, 1 week even. And that's fine. It's a normal human emotion. Yeah. But if it continues for, we look at about 10 days, 2 weeks as the limit to which we can say, okay, it's okay to feel or behave this way. But beyond 2 weeks or so, if it continues, then you need help. It's not healthy to allow it to continue beyond that time. Yeah. So these are the three things we look at when we advise people. Yeah.
Great, ma'am. Thank you so much. I think we have crossed the time just for now. So, I mean, I thank you so much, Ms. Devika Dharmaraj, for thought-provoking and insightful presentation that you gave us. And and you also gave small day-to-day actionables that we can, perform in our life, and that will help us in our mental health journey. I'd like to hand over to Pratima ma'am for vote of thanks.
Thank you, Harsh, for having me.
First of all, thank you so much, Devika, for conducting such an insightful session. And it was really, really very interactive, though we had very less people. And I must thank our audience who were very interactive, and they had, a lot of questions and understanding. And at the end, I would like to thank Harsh also to anchor this session. And thank you so much, Devika. We will look forward for more engagement with you. And I want audience also, our participants also, if you want to know more about NHRDN, please visit www.nationalhrd.org. And you can always reach out to me. I have mentioned my number also, and I will mention the email ID as well. So just a moment, I'll mention, and then maybe we can
close it.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that, Pratima. And a special thanks to those who are here on this session for making the time and being here.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, we'll end the session now.
Okay. Thanks for having me. Bye.